Candace Owens has made quite a name for herself. She's all over the internet right now going viral because she was let go by the Daily Wire for arguments that she was having with Ben Shapiro about that group that you're not allowed to say anything about. I'm not even going to mention them. But we remember her for her work with Turning Point USA, her debates with T.I., hanging out with Kanye West, talking the stuff that they was talking about. Remember when she was a liberal Democrat hating on Trump, to switching over to the other side, supporting Trump. I mean, but the one thing that she made a name, one thing that she made a name for herself was talking bad about the underbelly of black culture, and really basically saying that she's a spokesman for the black community. So a lot of these white publications or shows will put her out in front to talk about us so that they don't have to say it. And, she's become a traitor to her own community. She says that she loved her community, but she didn't love her community enough to marry a black man. She talked about IQ. She talked about so many things that was disparaging to the black community that in the meeting, a white person went and asked her this. Check this out.
Americans with black skin color?
Absolutely not. I actually love Americans with black skin color so much that I'm willing to fall on the sword 1,000 times for them to wake up and realize that we are being lied to, abused, and used by the Democrat Party.
But she says she loves black people, right? But then she goes on to her shows and she says some crazy stuff about us and our culture and the way we deal with conflict resolution. But this is the thing. Certain conversations you have amongst your people, because certain groups of blacks don't represent the whole totality of black people, right? But this is the stuff that she says when she's on her show about us to the world. Check that clip or what she was saying, right? A lot of us have been saying this, but this is the thing that we do. We don't say this and then run over to the dominant society. What we do is we roll up our sleeves and we go to work with our community. How many black people has Candace Owens actually worked with to actually bring about change to the communities that she come from, the communities that her father come from when he dealt with alcoholism because he was so stressed out about all the racism that he had to deal with going to work, or the things that her mother had to go through. She didn't love the black community enough to marry a black man and be a shining light or a beacon of hope for the community, where she could show the images of what we can aspire to be. She didn't do that. What she did was, the dominant society said that we were incapable of doing the things that she's speaking about. This is what they said. This is what Madison Grant said. This is what Woodrow Wilson said. H.S. Chamberlain. I can go on and on and on and on and on about these people historically, about what they've said about us, right? So what she did was she ran over there to them because they said that based off of our civilization is based off of how much white blood we have in us. She ran over there to them, and now she promotes the image of them as for us to be civilized. Not have a black husband and show that black solidarity, black unity, black love, where we can actually emulate it. No, all she does is talk about the black community, but what is her contribution to the actual community that she comes from? There is none. There is none. Because there's black people that are actually on the ground doing the work that they won't put the cameras in front of. They won't put the cameras in front of. So she talks her talk, and then she gets into a conversation because she gets so loose and think that she's arrived. She gets into a conversation with that other group that you can't say nothing about. And this is how it went down. Check this out.
You don't know what a rabbi does. You don't know our theology. How dare you call him an unholy rabbi? How dare you go into the misogynistic, the anti-Semitic trope of his hag daughter, something used throughout the late 18th and early through the early 20th century.
Sorry. Hag is now anti-Semitic?
So that is a term of his hag daughter that goes back into the witches of Eastern Europe. Why did you have to call her a hag daughter?
Just to be clear, because she's a witch. I think she's a witch. That's not because she's Jewish.
By calling a rabbi's daughter a witch, a hag daughter, you have tapped into an anti-Semitic trope that goes back hundreds of years.
I called his daughter a hag, and I meant it. I'm not taking the words back. I am not going to be told whether you want to dress it up as anti-Semitism, you want to dress it up as that I cannot respond and defend myself. I'm certainly not going to be told that I need to be contained in how I respond.
So Candace now with that conversation and going back and forth with Ben Shapiro and these other groups, she's now finding out who she can talk about and who she can't. See these shows will fund Candace Owens to talk about her own people and a bunch of other people, but you better not say nothing about them. You better not. And she knew this going in. So this is why she started making her rounds to the Joe Budden's podcast and these other black podcasts who she basically been talking down on for years. She thought that she was above them. She talked about IQ and who she was attracted to. But in this conversation, she got into so much trouble that this happened. Check this out.
Breaks this morning from the Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring. He tweets, quote, Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. So this comes after a lot of internal consternation between Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro that has exploded in the open after October the 7th. Candace has been quite vocal in an anti-war stance both on Ukraine and has carried over a lot of that consistency to the war between Israel and Gaza. She's been particularly outspoken about civilian casualties in Gaza and has also been against sending U.S. weapons to Israel. Now, obviously, this all broke out into the open. You'll recall a few months ago when Ben Shapiro was asked on camera and called her comments about Israel, quote, disgraceful. This led to a public spat between the two in which Ben replied to her and said, Candace, you are welcome to quit at any time. There was some speculation that might have been to involve having to pay her out of her contract. The circumstances, obviously, of her departure are not 100% clear. What we do know, though, is that it came almost immediately after a major fracas, I guess you could say, with the ADL. Let's go and put this up there on the screen. Just yesterday, the ADL, the so-called Anti-Defamation League, and one of the most censorious organizations and pro-Israel groups in the U.S., they put out an article stating, quote, white supremacist and Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes is praising Candace Owens', quote, vitriolic anti-Semitism. It is hardly surprising, but it does set off alarm bells. When bigoted people come together to push an anti-Semitic agenda, it adds fuel to the fire. So Candace replied to this. She says, quote, I do not know Nick Fuentes. You already know that. What I do know is that everyone can see what you guys are doing to me. Your pattern is well established and the world is waking up against it. My crime is having stood up for myself against your network of smears.
See, Candace Owens and those so-called black conservatives can learn an important lesson. Because, see, she liked to talk about the other black conservatives saying that we had a problem with conflict resolution, right? So are you separate from that, or do you include yourself in that group, or you're just somebody different? You're the voice or the beacon of hope for black people because you're perfect. Or you think that you're going to be on their show and talk bad about them and they're going to let you get away with it? No. Why don't you own it? You're a Republican, right? Why don't you don't want more government? Why don't you own what you have where you can say what you want? Why don't you work together with other black conservatives that think like you to have what you want? See, I'm conservative. I have conservative values, but I'd rather be conservative with my own people to build, to have my own dignity, the dignity that was taken from my great-grandfathers and grandfathers. I'd rather work with my own people, have stores and corporate structures and everything where we can compete in a system of capitalism. That's what I would rather have, because that's what they strived every day to take away from us. Instead of you working with your own people, you rather run over to the dominant society with them and let skin and grin and talk back and look back and talk back about what your community ain't doing. See, the difference is those societies was willing to do whatever it took, whether enslaving people, do whatever it was to build the societies that was conducive for them. You rather run over there with them, marry into their society, and then talk about all the ills of our community. They looking at you like you crazy, but they'll use you as a tool. But at some point, they'll break their tools. But they'll use you as a tool. But I'm going to tell you something, too, in closing, that there's an agenda coming, World Health Organization 2030. And if you read the 7-point plan that they got, read under peace, prosperity that they have. Those talking points that the rights and the left have is not conducive to the society that they're ushering in, where they're talking about peace and prosperity for everybody, an all-inclusive society for everybody. Those old school talking points are not do not go well with the world that's being ushered in. You guys better wake up. You better study. You better study what's coming, what's happening right in front of your face. They're doing away with all these different groups. But I'm going to tell you guys something out there. I'm going to say something to my community. Once they start getting rid of these so-called right-wing and left-wing groups that's been speaking in the manner in which they've been speaking, they're going to come after you next. But first, they're going to go after them. So when they come bring us down, we can't call it racism. So they just playing the game right in front of your face. But they're going to go after the Candace Owens. They're going to go after these hardcore groups, right? These hardcore Republican groups, these hardcore Democrat groups. They're going to take all these people down because it's not inclusive it doesn't go well with an all-inclusive society. And when we talk about all-inclusive society, we all know who they're ushering in. You see it play out in front of your face. I don't have to say it for the people that's slow in the back. All-inclusive society means these other groups that was placed in the back for so many years now are coming out to the front. And they're able to have the same rights as everybody else. So now some of these talking points that you use is threatening. It's threatening. And they got to get rid of you. They got to expose you. So you can't have the conversations that you used to have. I tell black folks, you better start working together with your own people. You better start working together with your own people to build. You can be conservative and still have a black wife or a black husband and build within your community. Nobody was more conservative than our grandparents and great-grandparents. You don't have to go over there and hobnob with people that has historically never liked you. I'm not making this up. This is American history. Hating black Americans was the American way. But we're going into a new day. People are starting to wake up. And I don't have to say nothing about that other group. Candace Owens' behavior and history speaks for itself. So I'm going to cut this video short here. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe to Street Media TV. Hit that like button. Work with you and love your own people. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.